Okay, so we're going to learn how to add a new blog post. So blog posts and pages are a little different. We discussed that in another video, so I'm not going to go through that here. But your blog posts are typically in your blog, or maybe you call it news or articles, whatever it may be. It functions a little differently than static pages because blog posts are dated. You could comment on them and they're typically categorized. So right here, I clicked on a blog. This is the blog archive. So the blog archive is just all the blog posts in one page, right? So sometimes if you have a lot, you might have multiple pages, but that's what I consider the blog archive, is just the main blog page that showcases all the blogs. So here we have some example blog posts. So I'm going to go ahead and go into the back end so we can add a new blog post. So you want to go into the WordPress dashboard, as you can see here, and click on posts. So this is where all your posts will be. And you could click on that and you could see all your last blog post, or you want to add a new one, we could just click add new here, or we can click add new here. It's the same thing. So let's go ahead and add a new blog post. And now you'll see that we have a few options here. You'll see we have the option to edit with Elementor. I don't recommend that we use Elementor for blog posts, just because Elementor may be overkill for blog posts. Typically blog posts are just text and images. So the default WordPress editor, which is what you see right here, is pretty powerful in itself, and it can handle simple, images and text. We use Elementor mainly just because, some pages has certain requirements on how it's designed. So Elementor makes it easy to do that. But with blog posts, it's just simple, right? So let's click on a blog post here. The layout should be the same, and it should be consistent across your website. So it has, the header here where it has a title and the metadata, which is the author, date, and the comments. And then you have the featured image, and then you have a sidebar, and then you have your content. So it's pretty standard here that this is a blog post. So and you'll see that creating this page is actually very easy to do, because there's already a template within your website for a blog post to look just like this. You don't have to create this header or this sidebar. It's going to be automatic, as you can see. So let's go ahead and add a title, blog example title. Okay, another thing to notate is that we have in the default WordPress editor, you have the visual and the text editor option. So the visual is where you won't see any code. It makes it easier on the eyes to see your content. So the text is where you're going to see just straight text, which is going to include any code. We want to be careful how we copy and paste your content, right? So a lot of times you may already have a blog post, maybe in a Word document or somewhere else, and you want to copy and paste into into the editor. So I recommend copying and pasting into the text editor. So I'm gonna share why. Because when you copy and paste, it could be from a Word document or a website or somewhere else, from an external source. When you copy and paste into the visual, it will most likely pull unwanted scripts or unwanted HTML scripts that you may not want or need, and it will kind of create a mess. So and you probably won't even see it, but sometimes it may look a little different. So for example, I'm gonna go ahead and go here to my website. I'm going to go ahead and copy this text, right? And I'm going to copy it into the visual, just as an example. So I pasted it in here, and it looks fine. It looks clean. It's the default text. But let's go into text editor, and you could see all of this code. This is what we really want to avoid. You do not want to move any of this over. It's going to create a mess. And it's really confusing when looking at it as well. So it's not always going to do this, but it very likely will if you paste it into visual. So I would recommend, so I'm going to delete this. I would recommend pasting the content into the text editor. So that's what I just did. I pasted it to text editor, and now if you look in the text editor, it looks clean. There's no code that's moved over. And then if you look in visual, it looks the exact same. So that's why I recommend a text editor. So I'm going to put in different content here. I just put in some filler content for this example, for this blog post. And then once you put in your content, you probably want to add an image inside your blog post. So let's say you want to put, you can, at this point, you can work in the visual editor. These paragraphs are really big. It's kind of hard to look at. So I'm going to just make them a little bit smaller. Actually, delete a few. Okay. So let's say you want to put an image after this paragraph. So put your cursor where you want that image and then just click add media. So you could do this in visual or text at this point. I will probably just go with visual at this point and then click add media, and you can upload your new images from your computer by selecting files and uploading, and I'm not going to do that right now. I'm just going to choose an image from the library, an image that we already have. So I'm going to choose this image. Now, when you're putting it in the body of the content, you have a few options on how to lay out the image. So when you upload an image, it's going to select it like this, and then you're going to have these options on the right. So you want to scroll all the way down, and then you could see the options to align the image to the left, center, right, or no alignment. So in this case, I'm not going to put any alignment because I just wanted it after that paragraph. And then I'm not going to link to anything. So this is if you want to link the image to anything. Typically, if you do, you just want to choose custom URL and then put in the full link that you want that image to link to. But in this case, I'm not going to link it to anything. And then the size of the image. So the size of the image, you would want to choose accordingly. If we're not going to align it anywhere, I'm probably going to want it to be full size. Or you could do medium, but then there's going to be a lot of white space around it. But I'll show you how to align the image as well, to the right or left as well. But in this case, I'm just going to do full size, and then I'm going to go ahead and click insert into post, and then just give it a second, and then it'll eventually pop up, and there's the image. And then the next thing that you want to do is add, this is pretty important, is add a featured image. So the featured image is the thumbnail. So it's the first image that pops up on the top right here. And then it's also the thumbnail. So when I go back to the blog archive, it is this right here. These are the featured images. These are the thumbnails. So you want to go, you have to actually set that. So I'm going to set a featured image. I'm going to do a different image than what I chose earlier. Let's just use this image and then click set featured image. And then there it pops up. Let's go ahead and publish it. Okay, so now I'm going to refresh the blog page, the blog archive, and then you could see the new blog post that I just published. So we click on it. That's the featured image that I set, and the featured image shows up again on the top. And then here's that image that I put in the body of the content. So all looks good. Let's say maybe you want to change this image and you don't want it to be, you don't want any alignment, or actually you do want alignment, meaning that you want the image to align to the left or right of the content. When you click on the image on visual view, you have that option to change it. So let's click left align. And then when you do that, you could see the image lines left and the content wraps to the right, which looks a lot better in my opinion. Or you could do it the other way around, line to the right. So you can also do center, meaning that the content will not wrap around either to the left or the right, but it'll center the image, and then the content will start again below it. Okay, so that's the image bit. Now we want to choose the right categories. So you may have different categories that you want to set this post to. In this case, you could choose multiple categories. I'll have a separate video on how to manage categories, but for now I'm just going to choose a random category. The next thing that I think it's important to know that you have the option for is when you can publish the post. You can actually schedule it to a future date. So let's say you want to go on vacation and you know don't want to have to work while you're on the beach. You can actually set it to a future date so that when that date comes, that post will automatically be posted for you and you wouldn't have to do anything. And you can also backdate it. So let's say you're a little behind and you want to show that you know already had this blog post written last month. You can actually do that. You can change it to the previous date, any date at all. Another option that you have is that let's say that you don't want to actually publish this live yet. You're working on it. You just want to save it as a draft so that you could come back to it later and you don't want anybody to see it yet. You can actually just click the option to save it as a draft. So if we do that, click OK, save it as a draft and click update. When you go back into the front end here, you're not going to see the blog post anymore because it is not live. But if you go back into all posts and you look at all the list of all the posts that you have on your site, you'll see it's here, but it's a draft. So it's not live. No one sees it but you unless you're logged in. And that is pretty much it in adding a new blog post.